Crafters. In tonight's video we're going to be making 3 cards, and we're going to be using the Stippled Roses Cling Stamp set and dies found in the new mini catalog, and if you use the bundle code you'll save 10%. The first card is the simplest, and it is referred to as a casual design. The second card is a little more difficult, and it's referred to as an Avid design. And the last card is our most difficult, for tonight at least, and it is referred to the Artfully Avid design. And we'll use the Softly Stippled Designer Series paper for the background paper. That paper can be found in the celebration brochure, and you can get that paper for free with a $50 purchase. Check out the comments section below for more information on how celebration works. Hi, I'm Joan and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, and I created this video for joanssimplepapercrafts, found right here on YouTube. If you're new here, I want to thank you for stopping by, and if you're a returning guest, welcome back. Be sure to subscribe by clicking the subscribe button below. That way you won't miss when I post a video, which is typically once a week. Now give me a second to get started. Here's our cards we're going to be making tonight. This is the casual design, this one is the Avid design, and this one will be the Artfully Avid design. For this one, all I did was stamp this little heart in here and then the sentiment. And for this one, I shadowed the heart behind the sentiment, and I did the same thing here, except for I did embossing for the sentiment. Let's go ahead and get started. First we're going to need is a piece of cardstock, and this is going to be our gray granite, and I cut it at 5.5 and 8.5 inches. I want you to mostly get the idea of how to make these cards, and I'll show you with this trimmer. We've got this trimmer blades. There's 2 on here when you get this trimmer. This one is the scoring blade, and this is the cutting blade. And to score it, you'd place it here at the 4 1/4 mark and then score it. And 4 1/4 would be 10.8 centimeters. So I already have it cut at 5.5 inches, so that's going to be 14 centimeters right here. And then I have it at 8.5 inches, which is 21.6 centimeters. And then we're just going to fold and burnish that. I like to burnish it on both sides to get a crisp edge. And then what we're going to do is we're going to do our inside sentiment. So that's the white card. And this is cut at 4 inches by 5 1/4 inches, or that would be 10.2 centimeters by 13.3 centimeters. I'm actually going to show you how to do that shadow on this card because I didn't get out the other stamp. So let me get my paper here. So we have some extra paper here that we stamp on. So we stamp here the gray granite, and we stamp off, and then we stamp to the center of this card. Then you take your sentiment and you stamp right in the middle. And this is at full strength then. That gives you that look. Then I'm going to take a few minutes to just clean my stamps off. Get all that ink off from here so that when I use the Stampin' Scrub, which I'm going to do right now, it allows me to do more stamping before I have to clean this off. So this is our Stampin' Mist. I use it at full strength. You could use it at half strength or even just use water if you'd like. And then you just simply scrub. This has a water drop here that allows me to remember which side I put the spray in. And then this has a sunshine up here. So that's the side I'm going to dry. There's a little bit of resistance from the bristles here. That doesn't mean anything's wrong with it. Okay. Let's do this one next. I'm going to put this in my Stamparatus. I know we don't have the Stamparatus anymore, but I didn't get a chance to get a new one, and I think one of them is put out by Sweet Petunia. So I'm just going to use this Stamparatus for right now, and I'm going to have it set up right there right there when I put this on the first time. So that's going to be pretty much centered there. Let me ink this up. The reason I'm using the stamp apparatus is I found that it didn't always get all the center part done right with one stamp when I used it on a block, and it's hard to map these out. And here it did pretty well, but I'm going to go in and do one more time. There, that looks great. So then our outside sentiment is the "To My Valentine." So I'm going to just leave it on this tray here. Actually, I'm going to move it onto here. And we'll get our ink. Trying to get it without getting my head in the way. Sorry about that. All right, and we'll just get that off from there. Then we're going to glue it down onto our card base. I'm going to get my silicone mat here. So I'm going to put the glue on the back side. And I'm using our multi-purpose glue. That is this glue right here. And I just have it in that needle nose bottle because it makes it easier to get it onto the card and get a more fine line. Then I'm just going to line this up, leaving 1/8 of an inch for a border on all 4 sides. So I'm lining up here, here, and here, and that top is just a given. And then we'll do the same thing on the inside of the card. And again, I'm going to line it up so I have 1/8 of an inch on all 4 sides. Shift it a little bit, so let's see if I can't get it back. And I should have it on my silicone mat there. And I'm just going to use my bone folder to get all the glue bubbles out. That gives contact with paper to paper. And this card is done. Now we'll go on to the next card, and let me get it set up here. So this next card is built pretty much the same way. I stamped the inside already, and if you remember correctly, this white piece was made with basic white, cut at 4 inches by 5 1/4 inches, or that would be 10.2 centimeters by 13.3 centimeters, and that was glued onto our gray granite cardstock, which was cut at 5 1/2 inches by 8 1/2 inches, or 14 centimeters by 21.6 centimeters, and I had it scored at 4 1/4 inches, or 10.8 centimeters. So what we want to do next is glue this onto here, and that is 4 inches by 5 1/4 inch piece. It was taken from the Softly Stippled Designer Series paper, but I used the gray granite pattern, and the other side has flowers on it. So we're just going to glue that down. And this is also a 4 inch by 5 1/4 inch piece of Designer Series paper, or 10.2 centimeters by 13.3 centimeters. Make sure I put it on the right side. I like to make my cards monochromatic because then I can change out the sentiment however I like. So I wanted to make this a wedding card. That would work really great. Or if I needed a sympathy card, that would work great too. So when I'm making some of these simpler cards, you might see me doing more monochromatic than using all pattern paper. So we've got that. I'm going to just use my bone folder to get all the glue out. Then we need to cut our stippled rose right here. And I'm going to get that off from our block here because we need to recenter it on here. And again, I'm going to use this stamp apparatus because I don't want to have to try and restamp it. And I've got this 3 1/2 inch by 5 inch piece of basic white. And that would be 8.9 centimeters by 12.7 centimeters. And I'm just going to anchor this down here in here. And you want to be careful not to get these magnets banged together because they break. As you can see, that is broken. And I'm going to center this on here. It doesn't actually need to be centered this time because I am going to cut this out with our dies. But by centering it, I know that it will have enough space on each side of it so that it won't run out of paper when I'm trying to cut it out. And I'm going to go one more time. I like that it made that a little bit darker the last time, so let me see if I can't get that done the same way. That looks good. So I'm just going to slide these magnets out of the way, and I'm going to take this and rinse this off right away. So let's get our cut and emboss. This is the mini cut and emboss. How we're going to do this is we want the standard pattern. So we're going to use the number 1 and then the 2 number 2s sandwiching this in between. Let me get my die out. I'm going to put it on here because I don't want it to wiggle on the other piece. When I had it up there, it would wiggle. And I didn't want it doing that while we're lining things up. Okay, so now that's good. And I'm going to just put on our second number 2. Bring this back over here. And then I'm just going to start cranking it. I'm afraid it was going to run into that glue bottle there. I didn't want it to tip the glue bottle over into the ink pad that's sitting right next to the glue bottle off camera. All right, so this should be cut out. Try to get this off there. Then we need to put our dimensionals on the back of this. And I'm going to use my Take Your Pick tool to pull them off from here and just arrange them on here. And I'm going to put quite a few on because I want to send this through the U.S. Postal Service. And actually, I can even cut these in half. Let me get my scissors. Then we just use your Take Your Pick tool to pull all these papers off. And that's one of the great things about this Take Your Pick tool. It keeps them all wrangled, and then you just throw them in your wastebasket. So I'm going to center this on the card, and I think I want it moved this way. And I'm going to raise it up just a little bit off-centered because I'm going to put that To My Valentine on a piece of paper, and I need that space for that. There. And now for the Valentine, I'm going to take this, and what I need is a piece of cardstock that's 3 1/4 inches by 4 inches. And I believe this is already 4 inches. So that's actually going to be 1.9 centimeters by 10.2 centimeters. And I am going to put it on the right side here. So this trimmer has some measurements on the right side of the blade. So it goes up to 1.5 inches or 3.8 centimeters. And that allows me to measure on that side. And that gives me the opportunity to hold down this here and cut that 3 1/4 inches. And then I'm going to just put this on here, and I'm going to try and stamp this. And I'm just going to stamp it in the center, and then we can go and cut the edges off. Sorry about my head. And I can close this up. Nope, I'm going to need that yet. I need to find where my dimensionals went. Here we go. So what we want to do next is we want to cut the edges off, and I'm going to use this point here. So I'm going to put the words down so then I can see them when I come through this side. And I'm centering that there. And then I'm pressing down so that it kind of catches. And I see that it's still in the right position. And then I just commit. And we'll do the same thing on this side. And I'm going to press it down and commit. Now we can put those dimensionals back on here. And then we just center this to the off center to the right. And I'm just barely touching the leaves there. And then I like to add bling. And since I'm going to use the rhinestone basic jewels, I'll use 3 of them. And I'll probably use one of the bigger ones here, right about here. And I think I'll put 2 up here. Okay, that is our second card. Let me get this last one set up. And now for this Artfully Avid card, we're going to stamp the inside first with our Calypso Coral. I'm going to stamp off and then stamp the center of the card. Then we're going to use our Versamark ink, and we're going to use You Are Mostly Loved. I'm going to close this up because I think we're done with this. And then we'll top that off with our copper metallic embossing powder. And this piece of cardstock here is basic white, and it's cut at 4 inches by 5.5 inches, or that would be 10.2 centimeters by 13.3 centimeters. And I am just going to get that little brush to clear this off. So I'm going to just clear these. I'm seeing that there is some right in the center here, which I'm not going to want those there. I'm guessing I should have let that heart dry a little more before stamping. I always forget about that. There, that's much better. Okay, so then we're going to just take our warming gun, and I'm going to put it on the warm setting, and we're going to heat this up. Takes a lot longer using the warm setting. And I actually can put it on the high. I'm going to use the warm setting when we use the vellum. You see it's starting to turn? I'm just going to do the back side again. And I think that is all done here. Okay. So we'll let that cool. And while that's cooling, I've already got this glued down onto our cardstock. This paper was cut at 4 inches by 5.25, and that's that same 10.2 centimeters by 13.3 centimeters. And it comes from the Softly Stippled Designer Series paper. And it has flowers on the back side. And then this is the Calypso Coral. And then we can probably glue this down now. Let me just see if it's still warm. No, we can glue that down. I'm putting it on, leaving 1/8 of a border on all 4 sides. So basically I'm centering it on the card base here. And that is glue, and then some stuff got in the glue, so I should be able to just erase that off from here. This is a adhesive eraser, and it's just lifting that off. I'm glad that that did that. Okay, now I'm going to take my bone folder and just do the bone folder on the back side, get all the glue bubbles out. Want to have paper contacting paper there. Okay, what we need next is the stippled roses, and we're going to put that onto our vellum. So let me get this off from here. This is our vellum, and that was cut at 4 inches by 5 1/4 inches, or 10.2 centimeters by 13.3 centimeters. And then we're just going to put it on here because I want to get it without any spots that doesn't come stamped right. Because with the cling stamp, it's not as easy to just go in and stamp the second time and get everything lined up. So I'm going to use this to hold it in place so that if I have to go back and do another stamping, I'm able to. And I need to leave room for my sentiment. And I can't put my sentiment on here because it is a photopolymer sentiment and it doesn't have the same type of depth. So I need to do that separately. And let's see, that looks about right. So I am going to close this up. And bring over our copper again. And what I'm going to do this time, I should have done that with the other one, is I'm going to use this, and it has powder in it that it prevents the static, so that this won't have a lot of static on it when I stamp it. So let's go ahead and use our Versamark. And I really only want to do one. That's why I'm making sure I've got it all stamped up. But I don't want it to get any problems here. And that looks good, so I am going to take it off from here. And this time I am going to use these tongs to hold it. And we'll use the warm setting on our heat gun. It'll take a little bit longer with the warm setting. But like I said earlier, vellum is very sensitive. So if I use the hot setting, it will probably warp it or scorch it. And so we want to use the warm setting and heat it up very slowly. I'm going to speed up the video. Now let's use the warm setting. You can tell I don't do this very often. Can you see it going? It's starting to get shiny. And I'm just going to go over it all one more time. Just make sure I don't have any bad spots. Let that cool for a little bit before we glue that down. So I need to clean up these stamps. So let me get my Stampin' Scrub out. This one. And I am going to close this up. I think I can move this out of the way. That'll work a lot easier. We're going to need that one yet. And then I just pulled this off and put it on a block because it's easier to use a block in here rather than the Stamparatus plate. Okay, that's cleaned up. We want to put dimensionals on the back of this, and we want to be putting it where the stamped image is. So we're going to use the smaller dimensionals. That way I have less chance of having it show up on the other side. So let me do this real quick here. And I am going to use quarter dimensionals as well. So I'm just going to cut some of these. I'll grab a whole strip of them. And then we'll have the other ones there. And we'll flip that over. I'm going to speed up the video. Put it right down here. I'm going to put quite a few on here because I have nothing holding this vellum up past the stamp point. So I'm going to make sure that I've got this all solid with stamps. I'm not going to take the paper backing off right away because I want to make sure that where the dimensional is, that it's a good spot. So let's check it out. I'm looking for white. And I'm seeing maybe some right here. That does look like it, so I'll pull that off. That had already stuck. Do one right here. Yeah, let's see if that did any better. I think that's good. So now I'm going to just take off the paper backings. I'm going to put one right here. Yeah, you don't see anything on that. Then we're just going to take all these paper backings off. And by cutting them in half, sometimes it's harder to get that little sliver that's there. So I'm not going to take too many at a time. Okay, so where's my card? Here we go. So now you want to just put this right on the top of the Calypso Coral. So I'm matching those points down there, matching the points up there, and that's not quite right, so let's lift it up. There's still a little wiggle room with this, so that helps. So I'm not going to push it down until I'm really comfortable with how it's lined up. There. So I'm only pushing it in the center part because you don't want to push the sides down. Okay, then we're going to get to my Valentine stamped on here, and I should have had that ready to go because now I'm going to have to do the heat gun on here, and that might warp the card base. I am sorry about this. I had a class last night for my launch opener for the new catalog, and it went rather well. I think I was up too late. You know, I put all my things away, and then there was just a little bit right in the center here, and if I can't get that out. All right. So I am going to try and get that to heat up. And let me get this out of the way. That worked much better than I thought it was going to. So what I should have done is once I got done stamping this one in embossing it, then I should have stamped this one and embossed that, and then applied the dimensionals. There's still some powder on there, so I'm just going to get my brush out. I think there must have been some on the underside here. There. Okay, then what we need next is our gems. So What I used before was our brush metallics, and I used the copper on there. You could also use this one here, which is our optic faceted gems. One of those would look good on there. Or you could use our iridescence. But I am just going to use the copper again. So let me get my tool here. I'm going to put one right here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go stick another dimensional underneath this gem right here, because it's big enough to have like a half a dimensional underneath there. And yes, I can get that. So I thought I cut a couple extra ones in half here. I have one right here. And then we can just take it, and I'm going to pull the paper backing off. And you don't actually need to have the paper backing off even. It's enough just to hold it there. What I want to do is I want to just push the edges in on that foam so that you don't see it anymore. So I don't know if you saw that. A little bit of white was sticking out. And so I just took my take your pick tool and I just pushed it in. All right. Just want to send a shout out to Julie and Susan and thank them for coming to the card class. And here's some pictures at the card class. I hope you like this project as much as I did. As you can see, it would work with just about any sentiment stamp set. Why don't you give it a try? Now, if you've enjoyed today's video, would you do me two favors? Click the thumbs up emoji, which means you like it, and would you share it on social media with your crafting friends and pin it to Pinterest? These actions will help me to keep sharing my ideas with other crafters for free, and I'd really appreciate that. Be sure to hit the subscribe button below so you won't miss any future videos. And don't forget to check out the comment section below on how celebration works. If you have any questions, be sure to contact me. I'm here to help in any way that I can. Just reach out to me. If you'd like to place a Stampin' Up! Order or would like a catalog, hop over to my website where you'll find the Shop Now button. To shop with me, you'll need to go to joanheberlein.stampinup.net. Mark your calendars. I'll be back next Sunday, January 14th at 7 p.m. Central Time, and we'll be doing another project from the new mini catalog. I hope you'll be here to join me. Thanks so much for being here with me tonight. I look forward to next time. Bye for now, and don't forget to subscribe.